What's going on, everybody? Cleepus Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, we're going to be comparing the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro 5G to the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G. Now before we go any further, as always, I do want to remind you to hit that subscribe button. And in case you want to learn more about either phone individually, I will be linking to several other videos about them in the description, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories. But with that being said, let's get into it. So with the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro, we're getting a 6.82-inch IPS LCD display with a resolution of 720p, a PPI of 263, and an aspect ratio of 20.5:9. With the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G, we're getting a 6.6-inch 120Hz PLS LCD display with a 1080p resolution, a PPI of 400, and an aspect ratio of 20:9. So on one hand, when it comes to size and dimensions, as you can clearly see, the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro does have an advantage. First of all, at 6.82 inches versus 6.6, it is clearly larger, so if you're going to be on your phone a lot, things are going to be a little bit easier to see. And with the 20.5:9 aspect ratio versus 20:9, the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro has a slightly taller and more narrow form factor, so if you're doing something like watching a video in landscape mode, for example, you're going to get a more immersive experience. And when you're browsing the web, reading, using social media, stuff like that, with a taller and more narrow form factor, you can fit more content on the screen without having to scroll as much. That being said though, on the other hand, the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G has a much better image quality. With a 1080p resolution, the image is going to be quite a bit sharper. The colors and brightness also look a little bit better in general. And with the 120Hz refresh rate versus a standard 60Hz, the movement on the screen is going to be a little bit faster and smoother. So the A23 5G is going to feel a bit more premium to use. For storage, with the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro, we're getting 128GB of internal storage, and with the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G, we're getting 64. And keep in mind, both phones also do have microSD card expansion. But clearly here, the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro, having double the storage of the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G, does have quite an advantage. So if storage is more of a priority for you, then the Revvl 6 Pro is probably going to be a better choice for you. On the other hand though, with the A23 5G, 64GB for the average user honestly isn't really that bad. So if you're not really a heavy user, if you're not constantly downloading apps and games and stuff like that, then as long as you're mindful of what you're putting on your phone, 64GB, while not being ideal in my opinion, is at least going to be acceptable. Now for security features, both phones do have Face Unlock and fingerprint scanners right here on the power keys, so definitely a great spot for a fingerprint scanner. And it's nice that with both phones, we are getting two different options besides a pin to unlock them. But starting with the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro, let's go ahead and give them a try. There we go, one more time. And there we go. And now for the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G. There we go, one more time. And there we go. So as you can see there, they were both real fast and responsive. No issues at all. And again, both phones do have Face Unlock too, so if you want to use that instead, you always can. Now taking a look at the camera setups here, with the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro, we got a 16 megapixel front-facing camera. Then on the back, we got a quad camera setup with a 50 megapixel main camera, a 5 megapixel ultra-wide camera, a 2 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. For video, this phone has a max recording quality of 2K in the rear camera and 1080p in the front. With the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G, we got an 8 megapixel front-facing camera. Then on the back, we got another quad camera setup, and it's pretty much the exact same as the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro, with a 50 megapixel main camera, a 5 megapixel ultra-wide camera, a 2 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. So really the only difference in the camera setup here is that for video, while again the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro can record 2K videos in the rear camera, with the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G, we are limited to 1080p. But in general, I feel like that doesn't really matter a whole lot. I don't really know that many people actually use 2K. And again, other than that, these phones have pretty much the same camera features. That being said though, when it comes to actual photo quality, I do think the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G is quite a bit better. So if you want the best photo quality between the two, then I would personally go with the A23 5G. But that being said, the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro definitely doesn't have bad quality either. And in general, for more casual use, maybe for stuff like social media for example, either phone is going to get the job done just fine. Now when it comes to RAM and processor, with the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro, we're getting 6GB of RAM with the MediaTek Dimensity 700 processor. With the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G, we're getting 4GB of RAM with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 695 5G processor. In general, both phones do have pretty good performance, but between the two, I would say the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G is going to be noticeably faster. So if you're going to be on your phone a little bit more, or maybe you're doing more demanding activities like mobile gaming for example, then I would go with the A23 5G. But again, the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro is really not bad either. And for more basic activities, especially if you're a more moderate user and you're not really going to be on your phone all the time, in that kind of situation, the Revvl 6 Pro is definitely still going to get the job done. Now I did run Geekbench 5 benchmark tests on both phones, and here are the scores I got. So again, as you can see here, the A23 5G does have a bit of an advantage. So again, if you want the faster phone between the two, then the Samsung is going to be a much better choice. But again, in my experience, I haven't really had any performance issues with the Revvl 6 Pro either. So overall, for more moderate use and more basic activities, you really won't go wrong with this phone. For the batteries, both phones do have 5000 mAh batteries, with the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro supporting 15W fast charging, and the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G supporting 25. So in general, when it comes to battery life and longevity, since both phones do have the same battery size, there really isn't going to be a difference here. But just keep in mind, with 5000 mAh batteries, in the US at least, that's pretty much the largest battery you can get in a smartphone. So if the battery life is important to you, then either phone is going to be a great choice. That being said, when it comes to charging, as you could probably guess, there is a bit of a difference, with the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G having 25W fast charging versus 15 with the Revvl 6 Pro. The A23 5G is going to charge quite a bit faster, so if that is important to you, definitely keep this in mind. But on the other hand, with the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro, unlike most phones in this price range, the Revvl 6 Pro actually does have wireless charging. So in general, on one hand, if you want faster charging overall, then the A23 5G will have an advantage, but if you want wireless charging, the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro will have an advantage. Now, when it comes to software, both phones currently do have Android 12, but that being said, I know for sure the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G will be getting Android 13, as well as several other major updates in the future. So if having the best software support in the latest version of Android is important to you, the A23 5G will be a better choice. In addition to this, both phones do have NFC, so if you like to make contactless mobile payments using Tap and Pay, you'll be happy to know you can do that with either phone. But in conclusion, which of these phones is better? In general, with both phones being relatively entry-level 5G phones around the same kind of price range, they are really similar in a lot of ways. That being said though, each phone does have a couple advantages. On one hand, if you want a larger display, more storage, and wireless charging, the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro is probably going to be a better choice for you. But on the other hand, if you want your display to have better image quality, and you want better performance, then in that case, you're probably going to be better off with the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G. But at the end of the day, if you're looking for an affordable 5G phone that has a good camera setup, a great battery, good performance, and plenty of features for more basic activities, then either phone is going to be a great choice. But this concludes my comparison between the T-Mobile Revvl 6 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G. Again, if you want to learn more about either phone individually, I will be linking to several other videos about them in the description, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories, so definitely check that out as well. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it and found it useful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow Tech on Twitter and Instagram, and as always, I will see you in the next video.